Ever get that feeling, that there's maybe something more to your life, like a specific purpose just for you?
It's a really compelling thought, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at a lecture by Neville Goddard from April 26, 1963.
That's right. He gets really personal about his understanding of God's purpose for all of us.
And just to set the stage, this isn't your typical Sunday sermon type of discussion.
Not at all. Goddard's perspective is, well, unique. He uses his own experiences and a very specific reading of the Bible.
Right, to talk about individual potential,
Yeah,
destiny. It's pretty fascinating stuff.
definitely. And look, we know you might have your own beliefs. Maybe you know the Bible inside out, maybe not.
Exactly. The idea here is just to unpack what Goddard was saying. It might give you a new way to think about things.
A different lens, perhaps.
Okay, so let's jump in. This core idea of Goddard's God having an unwavering purpose. What's that about?
Well, the central thing for Goddard is this conviction. God has one single, unchanging purpose for every single person, no exceptions.
One purpose for everyone. Wow.
Yeah, and he actually points to Isaiah 14.24 to back this up. It says, "As I have planned, so shall it be, and as I have purposed, so shall it stand."
Okay, so immutable, fixed.
Exactly. For Goddard, that's not just some general divine statement. It's personal. It's about a specific plan for you.
So what is that plan then, according to him? It sounds big.
Oh, it is. Goddard's take is that God's whole purpose is to give himself completely and utterly to each individual.
Like, as if you were the only person that existed.
Precisely. And the ultimate endgame. The individual becomes God.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot to take in, becoming God.
It's definitely a radical idea, no doubt about it.
So if that's the ultimate purpose, how does the Bible map onto this? You mentioned he saw it as a blueprint.
Exactly. He believed the entire Bible, Old and New Testaments, lays out this whole process.
The process of God giving himself to us.
Right. He saw the Old Testament as like the prophecy, setting the stage, hinting at it.
And the New Testament.
That's the fulfillment. That's where the plan is fully revealed, or at least where the key to it is given.
It's interesting he thought even many Christians kind of missed this interpretation.
Yeah, he really felt that. He thought traditional views often stop short, didn't go all the way to this idea of the individual becoming divine.
They missed the personal transformation aspect.
That's how he saw it. He's just that his understanding came from his own very profound experiences. So yeah, it definitely differs from mainstream theology.
Okay, let's talk about imagination. That's a huge part of Goddard's work, isn't it? How does that connect to this divine purpose?
Oh, absolutely central. For God, imagination isn't just, idle daydreaming. It's the actual engine of becoming.
The engine. How so?
He was completely convinced that if you assume the feeling of being the person you want to be, like really feel it as real right now,
Okay.
and then you remain loyal to that feeling, that assumption, then that reality has to manifest. It has to harden into fact.
So it's like mentally rehearsing your future self into existence.
Kind of, yeah. But the feeling is key. Feeling it as already true. And importantly, he said this is all inner work.
Meaning you don't need to push people around or manipulate things externally?
Exactly. The change happens inside you. You assume the state, live from it, and the world sort of rearranges itself around that assumption naturally.
Interesting. Okay, let's loop back to God giving himself.
Yeah.
You mentioned a verse from Malachi earlier.
Ah, yes. Malachi 1.6. It's right at the end of the Old Testament.
And it asks the question, right?
It does. The son is the honor of the father. If then I am a father, where is my honor? Goddard saw this as the big unresolved tension. God's presented as a father, expecting honor, which comes from a son.
But the son isn't quite revealed yet in that personal way.
Not in the way Goddard understood the ultimate purpose, no. The giving of the son, that relationship, isn't fully fleshed out there.
So the New Testament picks that up. How does it answer that question for Goddard?
Well, the New Testament definitely starts talking about God giving his son, but Goddard felt the depth of it was often missed.
The depth.
That God isn't just giving a son, he's giving himself through the son. And crucially, this isn't something you earn.
Not through works or wisdom or anything?
Nope, not through being good or smart or rich. It's pure grace, a gift, freely given.
He also traced this idea, this promise, from Abraham through to David and then culminating in Jesus. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. He saw it as an evolution. The initial promise, the seeds, were there with Abraham.
Okay.
Then it becomes clearer, more defined with the promises made to King David.
Right.
And for Goddard, these were all steps leading up to the ultimate expression in the figure of Christ Jesus in the New Testament stories.
But he read those stories differently, didn't he?
Oh, definitely. He saw them more as allegories, as psychological dramas playing out within the individual, representing this journey towards becoming God. Not necessarily literal history in the way many people read them.
Got it. And this journey leads to becoming one body with God. He referenced Romans for that.
Yeah, Romans 12.4, as there is but one body and it has many members, so it is with the body of Christ.
So like different parts making up a whole.
Exactly, like instruments in an orchestra, maybe? Each unique but contributing to one single piece of music. That's kind of the feeling. We become part of the divine body.
And he described an actual experience related to this.
He did. He spoke of being brought into God's presence, almost like an initiation, and being asked, what is the greatest thing in the world?
And the answer.
Love, which echoes 1 Corinthians 13, of course. And now abide faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love.
Okay, so you recognize love as supreme. Then what?
Then, according to Goddard's experience, God himself embraces you, fuses with you, incorporates you into his being.
Wow. So you become part of God. Do you lose yourself?
No, that's the amazing part he described. You don't lose your identity, you retain your individuality, but you're now part of this larger divine whole. He said it's an experience of just unbelievable joy, delight, unforgettable.
Okay, this brings us to David. David seems incredibly important in Goddard's framework. Why him specifically?
Right. Remember that question from Malachi. Where is my honor? Where is the Son?
Yeah.
Goddard's personal revelation, the answer he received was that God gives each person his only begotten Son, and that Son is David, David of the Old Testament.
David is God's son, given to each of us.
Yes. He uses Psalm 2.7, Thou art my son, today I have begotten you. He says that's not just about Jesus historically, it's a promise fulfilled in your experience when you awaken.
And he had a very vivid personal experience of this, didn't he?
Extremely vivid. He described feeling his skull, his brain just sort of explode, open up, and seeing David.
Seeing him.
Yes. And knowing, absolutely knowing, this is my son. And David looking back and knowing you as father.
That's intense.
Totally. He connects it directly to Psalm 89, where David cries out, Thou art my father, my God. For Goddard, David isn't just one person. He symbolizes the whole of humanity gathered into one single youth.
Okay, this raises a question, though. We usually think of Jesus as the son, but Goddard seems to be saying we become the father and Jesus was the father. How does that work?
Yeah, that's definitely a point that twists your head around a bit. Goddard took Jesus' words like, He who has seen me has seen the Father. Very literally. He believed Jesus was declaring his own identity as the Father.
But then why did Jesus call David Lord, which means my father?
Goddard had an explanation for that too. He said in that time and culture, Adonai Lord, or my father, was simply how any son addressed his father.
Oh, okay.
So when David, speaking through spirit, calls Jesus Adonai, he's simply recognizing him as father, thereby revealing Jesus' true identity as the father that everyone is destined to become.
It's a very different perspective on that relationship.
Very different. It all feeds into this ultimate idea of oneness.
Right, you mentioned Ephesians earlier, with all the repetition of one.
Exactly. Ephesians 4.46 hammers it home. One body, one spirit, one hope, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all. 7 times.
That feels deliberate.
Goddard certainly thought so. A powerful statement about ultimate unity. He also liked Zechariah 14.9. The Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day the Lord shall be one, and his name one.
And each individual is that one.
That's the idea. Each of us is the one who is ultimately embraced, absorbed into God's being through love. It's a complete circle.
He even brought Genesis into this, didn't he? The creation story.
He did, Genesis 2. He pointed out how God is first called Adam man, and how man leaves everything to cleave to his wife, becoming one flesh.
He saw that as an allegory.
Yes, an allegory of God, sort of, emptying himself to become humanity, only to ultimately reunite and become one with humanity again.
And he mentioned William Blake, too.
Yeah, Blake's idea of divine mercy redeeming man in the body of Jesus. Goddard stressed that when you're incorporated into that body, you are that divine being. It's not separate.
He quoted 1 John, too, right? About becoming like him.
It does not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he appears, we shall be like him. Goddard's interpretation was, when God appears and embraces you, in that embrace, you become the embracer. You become him.
Wow. Okay,
But
so with this huge, inevitable divine purpose unfolding, what about our everyday lives, our jobs, relationships, wanting a new car? Do we have any say in that stuff?
oh, absolutely. Goddard was very clear on that. While the ultimate purpose unfolds in its own time, you have complete freedom now to imagine and create the life you desire.
So we can still pursue our personal goals.
Definitely. He pointed to Proverbs 16.3. Commit your works to the Lord and your plans will be established.
And for him, committing your works meant.
Assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Living in the assumption that your desire is already a reality. That's how you commit it to the Lord, which he understood as your own wonderful human imagination, or I am.
And if you do that consistently,
Then the world just adapts. He believed things rearranged themselves to match your assumption, often in ways you couldn't have planned or forced. He quoted Blake, "All things by a law divine in one another's being mingled."
so there's an unseen connection, and our inner state influences the outer.
That was his core belief about manifestation. Now, he did acknowledge that your personal desires might not always seem directly aligned with becoming God,
Right.
but they can still absolutely manifest in what he called the short distances of life. You can still use this power. He even used the potter analogy from Jeremiah 18.
The potter reshaping the clay.
Exactly, to show how you can reshape your perception of someone or something, and by changing your inner view, you change the outer reality of it.
Okay, near the end of the lecture, he comes back to that promise to David in Psalm 2. What was the final emphasis there?
Just to really drive home that this promise, "Thou art my son, today I have begotten you," is universal. It's not exclusive to one person.
It applies to everyone listening, potentially.
That was his conviction. He felt the earlier understanding, focusing only on Jesus, was just a stage, a necessary but incomplete interpretation. The realization that you are the father of David is the key to unlocking that universal oneness.
And he linked David to wisdom in Proverbs. That was interesting.
Yes, Proverbs 8 personifies wisdom as this beloved child, God's first creation, playing before him.
Right.
And then Paul, in 1 Corinthians, defines Christ as the wisdom and power of God. Goddard connects these dots.
So David, wisdom, Christ, the personification of all humanity.
Pretty much, yeah. All of humanity summed up in this one archetypal youth, David, who is revealed as your son. It reinforces that idea that we're all interconnected.
If David is all humanity, then harming someone else.
Is literally harming a part of yourself, harming your own son in this symbolic sense. It really underscores a deep unity.
And the story of David and Goliath fits in how? With Jesse.
Right, when Saul asks, whose son is that youth, David eventually says he's the son of Jesse. Goddard points out that Jesse means to be, essentially I am.
God's name.
Exactly. So David is the son of I am, which for Goddard means David is sort of self-begotten in relation to your I amness, your consciousness. It ties it all back to the individual's divine identity.
It really does sound like he saw the Bible as this unfolding mystery.
Absolutely. A mystery that starts with a question at the end of the Old Testament.
Where is the son?
And gets answered personally, experientially, in the New Testament framework through this revelation of David as your son.
He knew this was hard for people to accept, didn't he?
Oh, completely. He acknowledged it sounded strange, even blasphemous to some, especially those steeped in traditional interpretations. But he spoke with such certainty.
Like a prophecy.
Almost, yeah. He basically said, whether you believe it now or not, this is going to happen to you. You will experience God giving himself to you. You will know David as your son. He saw it as the inevitable destiny for everyone.
So boiling it all down then, the ultimate message from this lecture about life's purpose is?
It's that God's purpose, the grand design, is for you, yes, you personally, to awaken to the reality that you are one with him.
And the peak of that awakening is?
That profound, personal, unmistakable revelation. You are the Father, and David, representing all humanity, is your beloved son.
That is definitely a powerful idea to reflect on. So for you listening, maybe just sit with that for a moment. If this perspective holds some truth for you, how might that change things?
Yeah, how might it shift how you see yourself, your potential, your relationship with everyone else, your whole concept of God or the divine?
It's a lot to think about. And really, this deep dive has only, skimmed the surface of this particular lecture.
For sure. If any of this sparked your interest, really resonated, we definitely suggest finding the original lecture or exploring Goddard's other writings.
Could be the start of a pretty interesting personal exploration.
Absolutely, because ultimately it seems the journey Goddard describes, this path to understanding God's purpose, well, it's really a journey into the deepest truth of who you really are.